you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. Fogham, where you can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
Hello, and welcome to Afrique Today and American Africans United, the voice of AAU. I am your host today, Dr. Yvette Butler-Yaboa, with my co-host, the Invisible Man.
Hey.
So we're here today, and we have a great show and a great lineup. And as you know, we usually start our shows off with videos. We're going to do something a little different today. And the reason why I just want to just talk to you briefly about what's going on right now. As our kids head off back to school, and most of them online, but we have a lot of individuals and young people going back to school in person. Now, I want to say I haven't talked about COVID-19 at all, but COVID-19 is real. And I want people, we always think about the names and the faces of all those who have gone and passed. We just say COVID-19 and we kind of forget, and we're becoming immune to it and numb. And I'm talking about this today because one of Gapbuster's illustrious dads and strong supporters of my nonprofit organization called Gapbuster actually and unfortunately died this weekend from COVID-19. Now, he died a senseless death. He did not have to die from this, but he was forced to continually go to work. He was forced to continually expose himself to the virus. And unfortunately, he got the virus. So I just want to say a few names, and the 2 names that are dear and near to me. The first month of this unfortunate, horrific event, one of our board members died. So I want to say names, and then I want to take a really quick, brief moment of silence for all those who have been sick and who are no longer with us from COVID-19. And I want to tell you, it is real. The first name who just recently died this Saturday, and I'm sitting here today as we plan his going home for next Friday and next Saturday, was an amazing young man, no comorbidities, and he is no longer with us, leaving behind a wife, 3 children, a grandchild, many brothers and sisters, and we don't say biological because he was like my little brother. And I want to first call out Brian Williams. The next name was one of our board members, and he was a dancer for life. And he died the first month they started talking about COVID-19. He found out he was infected on a Wednesday, and he was dead that Saturday. Stephen Childs. And my invisible man, if you know anyone close and dear, if you want to say their name, if you don't know anyone, that's okay. And also our guest speaker today, if you know of anyone, you can also say their name because we have to remember these people's names. We have to remember their faces because they died alone. And this is very, very unfortunate. And as our kids go back to school, you've seen 2 schools now shut down and they've reclosed because the increase in COVID-19 amongst the student body population. So for all my listeners out there, please know COVID-19 is real. Please do not think it can't happen to you or a family member or someone close who you may love, because it can. So I tell people to be safe, wear your mask, stay your social distance, but most importantly, take care of yourself and keep yourself healthy. So now we're going to go on to a different note. But thank you so much for sharing this. And please, the call-in number, because we have a great show today. We have the studio number. Remember, this is a live show. You can call in and ask your questions. So I'm going to go in and start introducing my guests, my keynote speaker, which is so excited to have. I'm excited because I'm having more women on the show because we had men for the first couple of months of this show. So I'm really excited that we're showing and highlighting women as we take the stage in so many. And remember, if you're watching this on Facebook, please share it on Facebook Live. If you're watching on Facebook, we currently have over 1,000 viewers. So please share it. Please share it out to your network so that they can. We last week we had over 1,000 shares, which hit so many more people. So we're excited about that. So I want to tell you a little bit about our guest speaker here today, and I'm so excited. She is the president, Akila Mukaram. She is a professional educator who wants freedom and justice and equality for Afro descendants. She has a bachelor's of science in chemical engineering, and she has two masters now, not only one, two, one in education and one in the School of Leadership. And she is working. This woman is unbelievable. She is still learning. So remember, look at her legacy, you guys. We can still go to school. She is now pursuing her doctorate in educational leadership. She is a former First Lady and Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Afro Descendant Nation. And currently, she is bringing Afro descendants together under one umbrella now, not just an umbrella, one umbrella. We got to think about this, and we got to get on the bandwagon. One umbrella of the Afro descendant nation to work towards self-determination. Now, who better could we have on today as we talk about reparations and what the political landscape is? My honorable, we are so glad to see you here. So please tell us a little bit more about yourself. And thank you for coming on our show today.
You're very welcome, Dr. Butler, and thank you for having me on. And I do want to offer condolences for all of the loved ones that have been lost due to COVID-19. A little bit more about myself. I'm happily married. I have 2 sons and a stepson, 2 granddaughters of my stepson and his wife. And I love children. So that was the reason I think that I went into education. I always loved helping young people be successful and go after whatever they wanted to achieve. And so now that has kind of put me in this arena of still just pursuing education more and more and learning more of how to do right by our children, by our youth who are our future. So with that said, that's about all that I have right now. Thank you.
Well, we
Go ahead. I wanted to jump in.
Yes, sir.
yes, go ahead.
Today, 43 years ago, uh, the Honorable Cyrus Muhammad went from Los Angeles to Chicago to bring back the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him. And so we celebrate today as Founders Day. Could you say a few words about that, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I would like to say happy Founders Day to everyone as well. Um, had it not been for the Honorable Salas Muhammad declaring spiritual warfare on the teachings of Wharf-Dean Wallace Muhammad and resurrecting the lost foundation of Islam, we would not have the Afro-descendant nation. So accolades, all the praise goes to the Honorable Salas Muhammad on this day for having the courage and the backbone to stand up and to bring us back to life. And I would also like to give reverence to our Queen Mashaki Muhammad, who has been by his side all this time. Thank you so much for being there, and happy Founders Day again to everyone.
All right. Well,
This is a good holiday.
Yes, ma'am, this is a holiday for us.
Yep.
Yes. And so I am an Afro descendant, and I want to thank them for allowing me to become Afro descendant, because without that we would not be here as an Afro descendant. So tell me a little bit about your office now. Now you hold an office. You were the senator and Afro descendant nation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and how is that connected to our political landscape now too as well? And then we're going to get into reparations, because that's something that was the hot button around this entire process, from from every Democrat coming out of their mouth, Democrat, and now we had a convention and you didn't hear one word about reparations, or I didn't hear one word about reparations. So tell us a little bit about your pathway, how you get there, and then let's get right into reparations.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. So I am currently president, but I came through, not through the Senate, I came through by way of the House of Representatives. So in the House of Representatives, I was the speaker, and the way that we were organized set up from the beginning is that the captains in the Lost Foundation of Islam became the House of Representatives, members of the House. The ministers in the Lost Foundation of Islam became the senators. And the president now, well, I came into this position because of my position as speaker, and I was next in line to come in. And I came through as vice president first, and now president.
Nice, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well,
Now, how many women have held that position?
We have had, I would be the third woman, so 2 prior to me.
Okay.
Exciting, right?
It is exciting. I love it when I see women step up, because they're out there with the backbones, but I think we are the backbones, but we really help push the agenda for our men. We're there to really support what they do, and without us,
Yes,
they
ma'am.
need us to survive. So my co-host, Invisible Man, he had a question.
No, I just wanted to, when you were talking about being president, you had to go on the stump and make speeches and stuff.
Do I have to go on and stop and make speeches?
Did you campaign and make speeches and so forth?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, I was preparing for that, but prior to that occurring, I was appointed.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna run
Oh, so
again after?
COVID-19 has hit you too,
I
right?
am absolutely going to run.
Okay.
I think COVID-19 has hit us all in some form or fashion, and kind of it's kind of helped us put a reset and really think about what's really next. Because people keep saying, let's get back to normal, but there will be no more normalcy as we used to see it. So we just have to live in different times. And I always look at it as there's a book that I tell everyone to read. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's a book about
Oh, I love
change.
that book.
It's
I love
wonderful. I have read it about 5 or 6 times, and I actually shared it with my see, we're very similar because change happens all the time, and it does not have to be negative. People look at change as being negative, but you have to look at change as opportunity. And this here is an opportunity for us to do something differently with our lives and move forward in a different direction. And I think right now, for an Afro descendant, this is our time. And change is coming, and we need to all be ready and get prepared for it. So before I go into, I really want you to tell us a little bit more. Can you explain the Afro descendant nation? And I think we have some slides that we want to put up also. We'd
Yeah.
like you to explain what is the Afro descendant nation, and then what does Afro descendant nation have when it talks about reparations? What have you guys done in the nation to really push reparations to the forefront and help us try to get there?
Okay. All right. So if you take a look at the uh, first slide, I think we need to know who an Afro descendant is. Okay. So first of all, so if you notice, Afro descendants are people who descend from people who were forcibly dispossessed of their homeland, Africa, were transported to the Americas and slavery diaspora for the purpose of enslavement, were subjected to slavery, were subjected to forced mixed breeding and rape, have experienced through force the loss of mother tongue, culture, and religion, have experienced racial discrimination due to lost ties from their original identity. Now, as Afro descendants, we are experiencing ethnogenesis, which is basically a resurrection of the mind. It's a resurrection of the people who have lost their identity to self. So the Afro descendant nation is here for those people that fit that definition. And we are here so that we can fight on behalf of the people of our people for reparations as well. So there was
Now
a
we have a.
question. Go ahead,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Dr. Butler.
No,
Go ahead, Dr.
I would just say there's another slide up that just came up, and I want you to just kind of address that because we're talking about Afro descendant, African American, people of African descent. You know, who actually is Afro descendant, and how does that make us unique? And what do we, how does that make us unique? Because there's been so many names for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There have been several names for us, exactly. So, as I stated, Afro descendant with a definition that is present, that was present there on the screen. If you fit that definition, you are an Afro descendant. African American can be a person, a white person that comes from Africa, or say South Africa. A white person can come over from South Africa and be an African American because they were born in Africa and they have come to America now, and now they can be called African American. People of African descent, those are people that have traveled here from Africa on their own free will. So they did not, their foreparents did not go through slavery as
Okay,
did
hapa lazima.
our foreparents,
Poți leta show
Afro-descendants.
hapa la juu. Poți să vidiš ja работа, poți leta hapa la juu.
I think we hear Pierre.
I'm sorry, here's
Hi.
some North.
Yeah. Go ahead. Now the next slide, can you address it, please? The vision?
The vision?
Yes, ma'am. That was there.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I can address the vision.
Go ahead.
So the vision of the Afro-descendant nation is to promote the concept of a righteous universal government by exercising freedom, justice, and equality.
Can I stop you right there?
Yes.
We're going to go into talking about what just occurred this past week with the Democratic National Convention.
Okay.
So how do you feel about the government that's in power today?
What I feel about this government that's in power today is that is.
Yes.
Excuse me?
In America, yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. What I feel about this government today, which is the government of America, that I feel that it is no good for us as Afro-descendants. This government was not set up with us in mind. It was set up based on pretty much white supremacy and keeping us as subservient people to them. So, and we do a lot of serving here in America. We don't. I don't think we own a good 1%. It's somewhere some number that's really low of America. So this government means us no good here. America means no good to Afro-descendants, our Afro-descendant people.
All right. The second part, the mission. Could explain the mission?
Okay, the mission is to develop a nation of peace and liberty for its citizens through fair, equitable, and just laws. We want to have integrity in our nation, in the Afro-descendant nation. We are peaceful, loving people, and we want to have peace. We want a nation where we can enjoy freedom, justice, and equality, and be at liberty to be ourselves, our true selves. And
Okay.
of course, we want to make sure that all our laws are just and fair as well for Afro-descendants. So we want to make sure that we have laws that we can live by and live comfortably by, and that they're just for everyone, every Afro-descendant that's in the Afro-descendant nation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Now, let's
You're
get right into reparations now, because as we see it now, we never got that. Remember, we were promised 40 acres and a mule. I know that my ancestors never got their 40 acres and a mule, and we know that land and property is the only thing that really doesn't depreciate is land. Everything that you claim that you can have, it depreciates, but land actually appreciates no matter where you are, no matter what you got it for now. You can sell it for twice, 10 times or more than what it was when you got it. So we never got that 40 acres and a mule. So tell us a little bit about what the Afro-descendant nation has been doing on the reparation front and helping us get there. And then I'm not sure if you've looked at HR 40 that Sheila Jackson Lee had put through on reparation.
Yes, I have looked at that, HR 40.
Okay, because then I'd like you to talk a little about HR 40 because, it's a great bill, but it's missing some things too as well. But I would like for you to comment on what you're doing now with the Afro-descendant nation, and then how does HR 40 support us? And if so, how can we all get involved in that movement to push it through to get it passed?
Well, if you take a look at the next slide, so that is Article 27, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So in Article 27 of the ICCPR, it states that in those states in which ethnic, religious, or linguistic minorities exist, persons belonging to such minorities shall not be denied the right in community with the other members of their group to enjoy their own culture, to profess and practice their own religion, or to use their own language. So with that said, the HR 40, it does not give us, it will not give us full and complete reparations according to what we need. We need to be restored as a people. We need repair. We have not been able to enjoy our own culture. We have assimilated into their culture here in America. We have not, to some extent, they say freedom of religion, but then they bash certain religions. And our own language, of course, we know that we don't speak our own language. We don't really know what our language was because we were severed from it. We were totally disconnected from it. Our families, when they arrived here, they were separated. So it's just a gross injustice that this country has done to us. And HR 40 does not address the complete and full reparations that we need. What we need is what we're going after in the Afro-descendant nation, and that is to have land, equipment. We want to be a nation on the world stage. We want to be great, as they say here with America. But if there's anything greater than great, that's what we want to be, because we want to be the premier nation of Afro descendants.
Wonderful. Yeah. And so one of the things that, because there's been so much talk about reparations. I mean, why is it such a hot button now? And why is it such a hot button now? I mean, I know why it's such a hot button now, but from could you give us a little more information on why it's hot button? And also tell the audience why they should be more involved in reparations.
Well, I think now it's really a hot topic because there's so many injustices that are going on. Take, for instance, the situation with George Floyd, our brother. I mean, it's something that we saw, we knew it was happening to us. These types of things were happening to us, but to see it in real life, real time on TV, and then for the brother to call for his mother, who had already passed, it just struck to the core. I know it struck me to my core. And I think now people are just seeing more and more. It shined a spotlight on it, on these injustices. So I think that is what has happened, and more people are talking about it now. It's really a hot topic. But I would caution people to have reparations paid in the correct way. And that would be in the way for us to be a self-sustaining people, because we want self-determination. We want to make sure that we decide what we want to do for ourselves, and not always have this government of America, white people, deciding for us what we need and what we want to do for ourselves. So we need true self-determination. And that's also on the next slide.
Yeah, I think we had the one about self-determination. But before we go to this slide here, it talks about the Afro-descendant your structural chart. Can we take this down just for a second? I would like for most honorable, I'd like for her to really talk more about, because there's so many different groups talking about reparations. How can we pull our resources together and unify the different organizations and the different groups that are out there trying to push this? Because we know in unity, with numbers, there's unity and there's power. And
Yes.
this country is very good at divide and conquer. So I know when they did the testimony about a year ago now on Capitol Hill and reparations, and where HR 40 was introduced, how can we all now wrap ourselves around and unify and make this bill something that's going to be passable for all of us too? But then how can we get there? What can we do, and how do we do it?
Well, I think that we as leaders need to come together and have a conversation, and leave our egos at the door, and just really decide what is the best and what's the best direction that we need to move in. We know that reparations is paid from one government to another government. So that means we're going to need a government. And we have the Afro-descendant nation, which we have here for us as Afro-descendants. And that is our government that we're moving forth with. So that would be the first thing. We need to come together and have conversations. We also need those conversations to be structured so that every voice can be heard. We need to make sure that we listen and seek understanding. I heard just the other day, first seek understanding before seeking to be understood. So I think that's something that we need to do, and we need to do it right away. Something that we have been doing is I've been working with grassroots organizations. We're coming together and deciding on some things that we can move on. But we would really like to have more leaders join us in those meetings so that we can have discussion and talk and come up with a strategic plan of action on how we need to move forward to achieve reparations for Afro-descendants.
Now, if someone wants to get involved and be part of those meetings and organizations, how do they get involved? How do they contact you? How do they get involved? Is there a website we go to? How do we make the first steps to be more involved in what you're doing?
Yes. So right now we have a Facebook page, Afro-Descendant Nation Facebook page. That would be one way you could reach out. We have email addresses for right now that we will share as well. And the website is forthcoming, which we should have that shortly. So I'm thinking within at least about another couple of weeks, we'll have the website up, and that would be a great place to go as well.
We'll be happy to share that with the audience.
Sir?
I say we'll be happy to share that with the audience in the future. But yes, since we're talking about HR 40, it starts out 116th Congress, first session, HR 40, to address the fundamental injustice, cruelty, brutality, and inhumanity of slavery in the United States. And the 13th, you know what? I was there last June the 19th for the reparations hearing. and I was not invisible then. I was actually present there. And it's crazy. We don't need to study it.
We
We need
don't.
to have some action. So if you can address what type of action we need to take.
So here again, I think that we need to come together and decide on that strategic plan of action that we need to take. And I'm absolutely in agreement with you that we do not need another study. It just makes me cringe when I even think about it or hear it. Study. What is there to study? We have been going through this for years and nothing has changed. So we don't need a study. We already know, and everything is already in the books. Everything is in the history books and in even current articles and journals here today. So we don't need any more studies at all.
Now you mentioned that a study, I think I read that the United Nations studied and they made some type of decision concerning reparations. Can you speak to that?
Well, I'm not sure about the decision that they made, but I did see some information on their study. And as I was reading through it, I said, okay, well, yes, we know that. Yes, we know that. We've been through that. Yes, yes. So it was still to me similar to what we already know here, but I didn't read the determination of whether they are moving forward on that or anything. And so that will be something I'll further investigate and get back with you on that.
Okay, we'll be waiting to have the update. Go ahead, Dr. Butler.
Yeah, no, I was gonna just say, you said something about history books. I wanted to just, we have to remember, we're not so much in the history books as we should be. So I always tell the young people, read your history with a fine-tooth comb. Don't always believe everything that you read in these history books. And I say that because it was interesting, as you know, I do a lot of traveling to the continent. And I was in Ghana about a year ago, actually about almost 2 years ago, and we were in their library. So since then, we have built a library and we have furnished that library with updated books. But they had a history book about America. It was called The Great Americas. And it was from 1952. And
Wow.
I start reading some of the stuff that was in that history book. It was so misconstrued, I mean, it was just so much information, misinformation. And here it was sitting in a library in Ghana so that Africans from the continent could learn about us in a way that we weren't depicted well. All they had in there was slavery. It was nothing about the inventions, discoveries, and how much and how we built this country. But it was nothing positive that I found in that history book of for African Americans and for them to learn about us. So when we talk about history books, I tell people, talk to go talk to some of these elder folks who know some
Right.
of the real history that has truly happened and that is not written, because our history hasn't been written. So when I look at history, I look at that's his story, because
Mm-hmm.
the books that are written now is truly his story. It's not our story. So we need to really tell our story. And so, I won't talk more about that, but I just wanted to say that here when you said history, I was like,
Yes,
oh, history.
I agree with that, Dr. Butler, in terms of the history has been watered down. Uh, but we are definitely here, and as you stated, our elders are here as well to tell the story. And so now it's time for us to write the true history for our future that's coming behind us, so that they will have the complete information. And we should also be developing our own schools so that we can teach our children and teach them the true history of Afro descendants and what we went through, our descendants went through here in slavery. So thank you for that.
As you're
No,
talking,
thank you. One thing I wanted to ask really quickly, and and then my invisible man, you can jump in. Um,
Yeah.
they talk about reparations and you say govern ourselves. Most people think that Black folks can't govern themselves. And so how do we disband this unbelievable myth and really talk more about the ability how we had to govern ourselves and talking about some of the past of successful places where we have governed ourselves that white people came and destroyed.
Right. And that brings to mind uh, Black Wall Street. Um, we have been able to do for ourselves prior to and also been able to do for ourselves prior to us integrating. So we can govern ourselves. I would also like to uh, provide the example of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad during his time with raising up an over an $80 million nation, where we were governing ourselves during that time as well. So there's nothing that we cannot do. Uh, we limit ourselves in our thinking, but if we would just open our minds and get some education under our belt, some of us, and some we can do anything that we want to. Sky is the limit, infinity and beyond.
Oh, I believe that. And we have a caller on the line. So
Okay.
remember, callers, you can call in. This is a live show. So caller, could you please say your name, your first name, where you're
Yes,
calling from, and your
where you're
question,
calling from,
please?
your question, please. Hello,
Yes, caller, are you
Are
there?
you ready for me?
yes,
Yeah.
Yes, we are ready for you, caller.
yes.
Yes.
Can you ask your question?
Yes. My question is, my name is Ajani Mukaram. I am actually a member of the Afro
How are you?
Descendant Nation, and my question is, why does the international platform for reparations have more viability than HR 40 and going to the United States of America's Congress to ask for reparations? I'd like to know that answer. Thank you.
You're
And thank you for
welcome.
your question.
Thank you for your question. Uh, Going to the UN, the United Nations, instead of going to um, America for reparations. Well, let me just provide this example. Dr. Butler, you and I are in a car accident, and I rammed your car in the back. So you take me to court, and when you get to court, my siblings are in the jury. My aunt is the judge. That's about how we are with going to America with this HR 40 bill. We're going right back to those that have damaged us and asking, to me, it's almost begging because this bill has been in existence for years. Um,
Yes.
so there's no way that you're going to receive justice if my family is in that courthouse deciding on whether I did you a wrong or not. So that's the same thing with America. America is looking out for America, and they did not have us in mind. In their constitution, we are 3/5 of a human being. So they didn't even think of us as being human beings. And I just thought earlier today how much so that they love their animals, like the dog is the man's best friend. That's what they say so much. The dog is the man's
Yes,
best
they do.
friend.
Yes.
So that means if you are hungry and the dog is hungry, the Black person's hungry, the dog is hungry, America's going to give that food to the dog before they give it to the black man, woman, and child here in America. America's government is not good for us as black people. We need self-determination, so we need to do for ourselves.
I really like that example, because that example was amazing, because that is so true. Now that you said we're going to them, now we know there's an election,
Mm-hmm.
and this election, how critical do you think this election will be for the decision on reparations, or do you think it will make any difference?
Well, it probably will not make a difference. None of them really have. It's just, who is the Afro-descendant nation going to fight? Is it going to be Biden or is it going to be Trump? So for our reparations, and who are we going to take to the international courts? That's the way I see it.
Okay, well, thank you, because I was so concerned, because every Democrat that was running, there's no Republicans running. They said nothing about reparations, but every Democrat that was running had reparations in their discussions. And it was very interesting, and it still is interesting to me, that they didn't say anything about during the convention. But I don't know, because we have to, this is our time. So we're going to have to get reparations, some form or fashion, because I know that there was going to be a court date this year at the United Nations that did not happen due to COVID-19. So there was going to be the UN was taking US to court, I understand. This summer they were going to be doing that. But unfortunately, everything's been delayed due to the pandemic. So what do you see our future is moving forward, and how quickly do you think we're going to get there? Because right now, the sky is ours, and the sky is a limit, and we have to take opportunities and move forward. So how do you think, when do you think we can really get back to trying to fight some of those issues?
What's the question? You were breaking up just a little bit. What's the question? When do I think we're going to get back to fighting issues on reparations in the United Nations?
Yes, what United Nations, and because right now we a lot of things. COVID-19 has unfortunately changed the landscape, and the
Yes.
opportunity is now for us to take advantage of what is due, rightfully owed, rightfully due to us.
Yes.
How do you think we can get there? And should we use this time right now as that time to really develop a strong unity to move forward?
You hit the nail on the head, Dr. Butler, to develop a strong unity. And that unity can be without uniformity. We don't have to think the same. The beauty in it is our diversity. We bring different things to the table together. So it's really time for us to sit down and have those meetings, structured meetings that are strategic. We come up with a strategic plan to move us forward. So unity would be the key.
Wonderful. So we want to make sure that we get information how to get more involved, because that is something, because I am an Afro descendant. And do you work with the organization called ADOS, the African Descendants of Slaves? Because I know that they have a platform. And are you looking to unify, or maybe you are work with them already to really come under one umbrella?
Well, we're looking to have ADOS come under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant nation. We've had a presenter at one of our grassroots meetings, but there has not been any further discussion. They have not been back to our meeting as of yet. So we are looking forward to having those conversations and making sure that we all come under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant nation. Because it doesn't matter what organization you are in, if you are an Afro-descendant, you are eligible to be under the Afro-descendant nation. the umbrella of the Afro-descendant nation. So
Wonderful.
we
'Cause there was
want all of our people, and again, diversity, as we said, we're not all the same. We don't believe all the same, but we have one commonality, that we're all Afro descendants, and we should be together under the umbrella of the Afro descendant nation.
Thank you, thank you. Now, I had a question. A young person did call in, and they were talking. We told them we were having this discussion today, and a question that was posed. They said ADOS was African descendants of slaves. They believe that if you're not an African descendant of a slave, you are not due reparations, and that nothing that, unfortunately, they won't get anything. So does the Afro descendant nation have that same guideline as far as who would be classified or categorized to receive reparations?
Well, those our foreparents that were still in Africa and were not brought over here in slavery, they lost us.
Yeah.
So they do have a claim to reparations as well, because everything that we did over here to build this country, we could have been doing in our own country, building. So they have missed out on what we had to offer and what we would be able to bring to them. So they also have lost. So they lost ties with us as well. So they could have a way of looking at achieving reparations as well, and build a platform around that. However, for the Afro descendant nation, those people that fit the definition of Afro descendant are members of the Afro descendant nation. If that answers
Wonderful.
your
And a question. Yeah, it does answer the question, but I want to just dig a little deeper on that one just quickly, as far as since the Afro descendant nation covers all those of African descent, predominantly, who have been victims of the white man's abuse, or the colonial oppression. Here in the United States is during slavery, and on the continent, the colonial masters oppressing those and so on. Who would pay if we're to get reparations, especially for everyone? Who would pay, or would we have a different fight on the continent versus our fight here? And who would pay the reparations for those of just African descent, and if they were from the continent? Would that be paid by the United States, or would they have to go to those countries who oppress them and demand their reparations?
So there are several countries where Afro descendants are as well, because we're approximately 40 million here in America, and once we connect internationally, we number approximately 250 million. So again, I think that would be a conversation which I would like for us to have behind closed doors between ourselves and our group, with our grassroots organizations and our different leaders, so that we can decide on what's best and who's best to pay.
Well, yeah, because we could have multi prongs. I just wanted to know if those discussions have been talked about, because I do think that, personally, I believe that every Afro descendant who has had some type of oppression, which is all of us, they are due reparations wherever they are in this world and in this country. And who pays for it is something we talk about later on, but definitely every last one of us has.
And that's approximately 250 million of us.
Wonderful, wonderful. So
I want to jump in for a minute.
Yes. Yes.
3 quick questions. First question, Madam President, did you attend any of the National Reparation Tour events that went on in 2015 and 2016.
Yes, sir. I did attend some.
Okay. I don't think very many of the audience knew that there was actually a reparations tour that went from coast to coast. You want to speak to that for a second, and then I'll come up with my second question, or just leave it in the air.
Okay, so well, and that's another issue with communications. So we're doing our best to get better at communicating that information, and I'm hoping that that's going to start to come back into effect real soon. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Yes, ma'am. And the second thing, as you were talking about, I mentioned the UN. So it's actually 4 years. 2016 was when the working group of experts on people of African descent submitted their report to the UN Council on Human Rights, saying that the United States should begin reparatory justice, but they could not force the U.S. to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I understand what you're saying, our unity, and if we speak with one voice under the Afro-descendant nation, we can cause it to happen. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. That's where the power is. That's where the power is, with us unifying 250 million of us, bringing pressure on all our oppressors.
All right. And my final question is, since you're the president, who is your hero or heroine?
Who is my hero?
Heroines too now.
It could be a Shiro also. So
My mom.
Your mom, all right
but
now.
see,
Very good.
she has a Shiro. She has a Shiro now. Remember, good job. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I love her dearly, and I think I have gotten my compassion and love for people from her. She loves everybody. Everybody comes to her. She claims everybody as her child.
Yeah.
So it will be my mommy.
We have only a few minutes. Let me say this real quick. We had the Representative Raskin on previously talking about the census. So that's still going on. And I understand that if you have, or if you're contacted by the census people, you want Afro descendants to write in the word Afro descendant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
You can do that.
Check the boxes. Check the box for, I think it says Black, African American, or check that box, and then in the line underneath, or the boxes underneath, if you're doing it online, type in Afro descendant.
Okay. One final question.
Yes, sir.
AFRO descendant as opposed to the AFRO dash descendant. Is there a difference in that?
Well, for me, and this is just me, the dash, I still see separation.
Yes, ma'am.
With it together, I see a collective unity of all of us, 250 million of us.
Okay. Dr. Butler?
I want first of all, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, because this is something we have to really, as I said, talk about reparation, but we need to start action. And you are taking the action steps that need to be taken. So when you get the information and get everything together, we definitely want to have you back on and sharing the information to folks, because we've had many people call in and talk about unity. Because as we know, you divide, you conquer. And they have divided people of Afro descendant every form and fashion, in every way they can. They have divided us, even amongst families. During slavery, when they ripped us apart and sold us off to different folks, they divided our families up then. And they continually divide us. So we have no allegiance, as we should, to each other, especially being a product of a enslaved individual in this country. We have been totally ripped apart as far as our family structures. And there's a big difference when you look at other countries. And so we really have to come together and You're taking the right steps. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking those steps on behalf of the Afro descendants here in the United States and around the world, that we do need to unify now, regardless of what we want to call ourselves. I think if we want to call ourselves African Americans, American Africans, because, just ADOS,
Right.
whatever we want to call ourselves. Even some people want to call themselves Negroes, which I don't agree. But if you want to call yourself that, that's fine. We are all from one same root, and we need to start thinking with one mind, one word, and one unity. We got to come together. And so, on that, I want to see if you have any other last words before we go off, because I am so happy. I'm.
Thank you so much.
It's all about us.
Yes, it is. It's time for us to love on ourselves. And I got that from one of my friends, that we have these ancestral village calls on Sundays, who has it's from the brainchild of Pastor Victoria Brady in Chicago. And so she's gotten different faiths together to worship with one another, so to speak. But we have so many different topics. We've been having music, and we are just really enjoying being with one another. And it seems like we can't hardly wait until Sunday to get to talk with each other. But it seems like it's going to be a good prototype of what we want to see between us as Afro descendants under the umbrella of the Afro descendant nation. We don't want there to be any separation. We don't want ADOS over here and Nation of Islam over here, Christians over here. We want everybody together. Total freedom, justice, and equality, peace and liberty for all of our citizens.
All right.
I would like to end with the slogan at the end. I think it's on the end of the slide. Can you put that on the screen, please?
The last slide.
I think it's the last one. Let's check it out. Yes, ma'am. The very last slide. There it is.
Oh.
This is the Afro Descendant Nations International. Everybody, 250 million of us. This is our slogan. And we want you to chant it. We want everyone to chant the slogan. Self-determination is our right.
Is our right.
Separation with all our might.
Without our might.
Reparations is our fight.
Is our fight.
Is our fight.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Well, we want to thank you, because we're getting a sign that we have to end.
Time to go.
But I want to just tell our audience, thank you so much. I want to tell our audience before we sign off, next week is going to be a great show, so please tune in. It's going to be with the millennials. We're going to have the millennials and Generation Z talk about the 2020 election. So we're excited to have them come up next week, so make sure you tune in. We have some special guests that are going to be on, and we have some of our gap buster young people who are now gone on to do big, much greater and bigger things, who are going, and they're that millennial generation and the Generation Z, here to talk to you about just their thoughts on the 2020 election and how to get the young millennials and the Generation Z to the polls. We want you to get a little excited. So with that, I want to thank you. I want to thank my guest once again, and I want to thank my co-host.
And thank you so much, Dr. Butler, for having me on.
No, thank you. And definitely want to thank Afrique Today for all the work that you do to get us on these shows every Friday. And we'll see you next Friday.
Thank you.
Welcome. You're watching Afrique Today with Harriet Shangarai, coming to you with community update. First, I'm going to start with I'm going to start with the census because that's really important. We're celebrating the census weekend here in Montgomery County, starting August 7th up to August the 10th. It is vital that we make sure each and everyone in our community is counted. I'm going to ask you to visit www.2020census.gov. It is safe, it is quick, and it is not going to be used for any other purposes but census. Please make sure that you are all counted and reach out to your friends and community members to remind them to complete their census. This is how we get special programs to come to our communities. Another item that I want to bring to your attention, it is the renters' resources. We all know that eviction moratorium has been lifted here in Maryland since July 25th. A number of people are running behind their rent and they may need help. I want you to call 311 and follow up, or visit www.montgomerycounty.gov/renters for resources for those who are renting. If you're falling behind your rent, please call 311 to find out about more resources that may be available to assist you. Another thing I want to bring to your attention is COVID-19 testing. Montgomery County has put a number of centers. COVID testing is free. Call 240-777-1755 and get your test. Also remember to put your mask, wash your hands, and observe social distancing. Keep everyone healthy in your family and those around you, or whenever you go to the store. Please be sure to protect yourself and protect others. One more update I have for you today is the information about single parenting households. Montgomery College has a very special program prepared to share about information about all resources available for single parenting households, and you can go to montgomerycollege.edu/single parent conference and register. That conference is going to be held August 8th to 2020. So this is all I have prepared for you. Visit Afrique Today platform for all these flyers, or reach out to montgomerycounty.gov and go through for different resources that you're looking for, as long as you're residents of Montgomery County. We want you to stay safe. Please wash your hands, wear your mask, and observe social distancing. Remember to count, and please do vote. Thank you. Harriet Shangarai, Community Update with Afrique Today. Thank you.